in the previous lecture we have seen the primary succession. Okay, now in this lecture we are going to see the secondary succession. Now secondary succession means what? We have seen what is secondary succession. Secondary succession is nothing but succession takes place at an area where earlier there is a life, but due to some accidental conditions or due to some natural calamities, these areas are going to destroy. And again on that surface, if the succession starts, then such type of succession is called as the secondary succession. Okay, there is earlier one life is there, okay, but due to some accidental or calamities, it is going to destroy. So what is the difference between the primary and secondary succession? Primary succession, where there is at earlier there is no soil, there is no water, there is no nutrients. Okay, but in case of the secondary succession, earlier there is a soil because earlier life is there. When rainfall occurs, there should be water and nutrients are there due to some earlier life stages. Okay, so that is the difference between the primary and secondary succession. So you can see on your screen there is one picture. This is the picture of secondary succession. Okay, you can see some stages on that. So it is a forest ecosystem where the secondary succession takes place. You can see from first, that is the forest stage. Okay, forest stage where tall trees are present. Now due to some accidental conditions or due to some natural calamities, there is a fire in the forest takes place. Okay, you can see the pictures of the fire takes place in the forest. Okay, now that fire is going to spread in the entire forest and it is going to destroy the ecosystem. Okay, on the fourth stage you can see the nudation, where no trees are there, no small plants are there. Okay, no life is there on that earth. Okay, but what is the difference here? Here is the presence of the soil takes place. Okay, soil is there, but there is no life. Okay, the dead organic matter or burned parts of that plants are there. So on that surface, when some plants or some organisms are going to grow, so there is a starting of the new succession, and that succession is called as the secondary succession. So you can see in this picture. Now after that nudation stage, after some favorable conditions, when rainfall is there, soil is already there, when rainfall is there, water should be there and nutrients are there. So after some conditions of some time, there is a formation or introduction of a new species takes place. Okay, when succession start, if new species enters, this is called as pioneer species. Now on that nude area, one species is growing, that is called as pioneer species. After, there is another plants which are growing along with that pioneer species. So you can see now from the bare area, from the nude area, there is a plantation takes place. Firstly the grasses, small plants are there. After some favorable conditions, rainfall, shrubs, herbs are there growing. Now after the environmental changes, that herbs and shrubs are going to replace by the large tall trees. And now such trees are growing all over this area. It will make a forest. That is nothing but the climax community. So it is a journey from forest to forest. Earlier it is a forest, but due to some problem, due to some calamities, there is a nudation takes place, destroyment of that forest takes place, and again on that condition, if succession takes place, this is called as secondary succession. So we have seen both primary and secondary succession. Okay, how it is different from each other, and both are resulting into the Mesic conditions. So during all this, we need to understand that whatever the type of succession or whatever the type of primary or secondary succession, in both the cases the final result is nothing but the climax community, and climax community in all the cases is going to be Mesic condition, where moderate amount of water is present. That means if it is a negligible water area or if it is a plenty of water area, both the conditions will resulting into the Mesic condition where moderate amount of water is present, and that is called as the Mesic condition. Okay, where no more water is present or negligible water is present, the moderate amount of water is present. So it is very much important, succession is very much important for the new plants to grow on an bare area. Now we are going to see the last part of this chapter, that is nothing but the ecosystem services. Now ecosystem services means what? Whatever the products are going to produced in the ecosystem or in the successions, these are called as the ecosystem services. Okay, now we have seen the primary succession, secondary succession, hydraz succession, xeraz succession. In all that successions or in an entire ecosystem, whatever the products are formed during that ecosystem progress, these all are called as ecological services. Okay, and in that ecological services, okay, in the Millennium Ecosystem suggested that he proposed a report. In that report, they mentioned that ecosystem services are the benefits obtained by the peoples from the ecosystem. That means whatever the benefits are there for the human being from the ecosystem, these are called as ecological services. And they have mentioned majorly 4 types of services we are provided by the ecosystem for our wellness. So there are majorly 4 services. In that supporting services there, provisioning services there, then regulating services there, and cultural service is there. First one is nothing but the supporting services. Supporting services means the services, the products are formed that helps to support the ecosystem, the human being, the animals, and the entire environment. These are called as supporting ecosystem. Okay, in that supporting ecosystem, various cycles are there, primary succession is there. Okay, due to that, there is a soil formation, very much important phenomena. Soil formation is, and pollination, such type of characteristic of that supporting services are there, which are going to give the strength to the environment and the ecosystem. Second type of service is nothing but the provisioning services. It is very much important service. In that, food, water, minerals, okay, then medical resources, whatever the benefits we are getting from the environment, it is including under the provisioning services, which gives provisions to us. Okay, medical services, then water, then various food purposes, okay, ornamental resources we are getting from the environment, that all included under the provisioning services. Okay, and third type of service is called as the regulating services. Now it is very much important to regulate the cycles, different cycles, then ecosystem, environment, various food chains, that all regulation of all that, it is under the ecosystem services. So regulation of the nutrient cycles, okay, predation, okay, due to predation we already see, or we have already studied that how the predation helps to maintain the quantity of the animals. Okay, when predation is there, the number of the other animals are going to maintain. Okay, so this type of regulating services are there. Then purification of water and air, this is very important. Okay, purification of air and the water is very important in case of environment, in case of human being also. Okay, so regulating services are one of the important services from the ecological services. And finally, the fourth service is nothing but the cultural services. So there are different cultural services are there. In that, spiritual cultures are there. Okay, in case of plants and ecosystems, then some historical, some recreational cultures are there about the ecosystem. So cultural services are different. Okay, we are using lot of plants for various cultural services. Okay, these are very much important economically also, and they are very much important in case of environment also. Okay, so these majorly 4 important ecological services are there. We are going to see a few of them. Okay, so first important ecological service is nothing but the fixation of CO2 and release of O2. That is a very important characteristic feature of an ecosystem. What it does, it fixes the CO2 from the atmosphere. That means whatever the CO2 it is going to produce by the human activities due to some industrial areas, that CO2 it is going to fix, or it is going to consumed by the plants, or it is going into the seawater also. Okay, and majorly it is going to absorb by the plants, because for the photosynthesis CO2 is required. So fixation of CO2, it is the one function of an ecosystem. Now on the another side, they are releasing O2, that is oxygen, and that oxygen, it is very much important for the animals for the respiration. So fixation of CO2 and release of CO2 is the major ecological services, and on that services the life on the earth, it is going to be surviving. Okay, second major ecological service is nothing but the pollination. After the survival, okay, when animals surviving, they needs food for to survive on this earth, and for to getting food, first pollination must be there. Okay, on the crop plants, if pollination takes place, then and then only the production of crop takes place. Okay, and that pollination, it is very much important, and pollination, this phenomena, it is proceeds or progress into the ecological services. The pollination maybe takes place by using the air. The pollination maybe takes place by using the water or some insects, biological sources. They are also the part of an ecosystem. So pollination is the major ecological services which sustains the life on the earth. So these are the 2 ecological services, majorly 2 services. There are plenty of the services, ecological services are there, we cannot listed them. Okay, so it is very important, though the value of the all services of biodiversity, it is difficult to determine the value of it we can't determine. Okay, so it is very much important to sustain the ecosystem, ecological services, various factors of an ecosystem, of an food chain, an entire environment. So by that way, this chapter is completed. In the next lecture, we are going to start with the next chapter.